Hello friends, happy new moon, it's Alina, and in this video we'll be diving into the 5 things you need to know all around this October 2021 Libra new moon. So if that's something that interests you, then let's get started. What is up, y'all? How you doing? I hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to be diving into this new moon in the very balancing air sign of Libra. We'll talk about the 6 planets that are currently in retrograde, along with the transit surrounding this new moon, how to better harness its energy, and at the end, as always, I'll offer some customized new moon writing prompts that we can do together. And before we dive in, I'm super excited to announce the official launch date of the 2022 Auralign Astrology Planners. I'm so excited for you to be able to pre-order starting at midnight on October 14th, and shipments will begin December 1st. And for any of y'all who are new here, Auralign is a company that I started in an annual astrology planner that I design that includes astrological date notifications, dedicated full and new moon ritual pages, seasonal wellness guides with custom writing prompts, and so much more. Whenever we journal at the end of these videos, I actually have a customized area in the planner where we can write along together, and I'm really excited about it. So if you're someone who is interested in aligning your schedule with the moon, the stars, and the seasons, then I encourage you to sign up for our email list. I won't spam you on the website that's above me and below in the description. And with all of that said, let's begin. Why is this new moon so important? Not to get into too many transits, but to start, we have the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Mars all in the sign of the airy Libra. And these cluster of planets will offer us fresh perspectives and empowering energy when it comes to our path ahead during the beginning of this new lunar cycle. And especially when it comes to Mars being in this new moon mix, now can be a very optimal time for setting intentions around being courageous and bold with stepping out of our comfort zone when going towards our goals. And this does not necessarily need to mean that it has to be bold when it comes to our work or our hustle or, profitability. It can also apply to being bold with setting boundaries so we have more time to be present. And as many of you know, the new moon marks the beginning of a new lunar cycle, and it's seen as an optimal time for rest, reflection, and setting intentions for the new lunar cycle ahead. It's a time of not necessarily being out and about and in action if we do not feel called to, but holding space for rest and recognizing that that in and of itself is productive. Some of Libra's lessons involve making peace with those around us as well as our environments, along with finding balance and recognizing the value of partnerships and collaboration. Next, what transits will impact this new moon? First, on the date of the new moon, October 6th, we'll see the moon conjuncting with Mars, both of them in Libra. As many of you know, a conjunction between 2 astral bodies indicates energetic collaboration between those 2 energies. So we see the new moon in Libra, this representation and energetic support for fresh starts, in conjunction with Mars, the planet of initiative, courage, and dominant energy. So we'll definitely likely see abundant energy moving into the lunar cycle, especially in alignment with whatever intentions that you set during this time, as well as feelings of initiative and courage to handle certain situations. On the flip side of that Mars energy of feeling courageous, having that dominant energy to set those initiatives, we can also see if potentially any anger or angst is pent up, something popping. So it's going to be very important for you to hold space for your emotions, find healthy outlets to express them, whether that be through talk therapy, journaling, and opening up with loved ones, and being open to collaboration. That's really the overall theme of this Libra new moon, being open to those ideas. Something else that I'm really getting during this time is that we might likely see relationship angst, potential unresolved issues within relationships, whether they're romantic or platonic, coming to the surface, especially in retrograde season. But those things can be a catalyst to growth if we're open to collaboration and having empathy and finding balance in that situation. And as mentioned before, seeing that we have both Mars and Mercury, the planet of communication, mental stimulation, both being in the sign of Libra for the remainder or most of October, we're definitely going to be getting supportive energy in the realms of communication and diplomacy. Following the new moon on October 7th, we're going to see the planet of love and relationships, that being Venus, move from the sultry sign of Scorpio and into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, when Venus is in the free-spirited sign of Sagittarius, all zodiac signs seem to have much more optimism when it comes to starting relationships and being open-minded to love and broader values. So even though it's after the new moon, I really wanted to bring it up because I think that this can be a great transit, specifically for broadening your romantic horizons. Next, let's talk about these retrogrades. We need to acknowledge the fact that there are currently 6 planets in retrograde. They include the very infamous Mercury, along with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So if you have felt like there's been an energy shift, maybe an increase in miscommunication, experiencing more vivid dreams, or even some issues with your sleep patterns, many of those things might be connected with the retrograde. One thing that I wanted to make a note in saying is that even though retrograde, specifically Mercury retrograde, is associated with being kind of stressed out, technological issues, travel issues, all of these things, and really I feel like I see online a lot of fear type stuff, that way you read my article, it's important to remember that retrogrades for all of the planets are rooted in teaching us lessons through bringing up potential mishaps. And specifically when it comes to Mercury, most of the time we are being called to slow down and be more intentional with our communication, with our travel, and with our electronics and signing important documents. And if you do bring intention into those areas, you likely won't have any issues. And just like Mercury rules over our communication, travel, all of these things that might go haywire, depending on what each other planet that's in retrograde, what areas they rule over, that is the area that you should definitely be bringing more intention into during that retrograde. So if you're interested in learning more about each planet's retrogrades, first off, definitely get the Auralign planner, because the first part of it, I break down every single planet's retrograde and what to do. But I can also make a full video explaining it. So if that's something that interests you, comment it down below so I can do it. But with all of that said, on October 6th, we'll actually see Pluto's retrograde coming to an end on the same day as the Libra new moon. Now this transit, along with the new moon itself, will definitely be promoting an energy of fresh starts and optimism. And following that, on October 18th, we'll see both Jupiter and Mercury going direct. Next, what should we expect to feel? On one hand, Libra energy can help us to empathize with practically anyone in the pursuit of finding balance and harmony. On the other hand, Libra energy can be connected with people pleasing and putting others' needs in front of our own for the purpose of seeking that balance. So on one hand, it really feels like the world needs more people who are empathetic, who are open to finding balance, finding both sides of the coin, convincing one another from a neutral space. On the other hand, it'll be important to be very cognizant of holding space for yourself in the process. If the term people-pleasing resonates with you or sparks any memory of that, now can be a very great time for reflecting on those experiences and being cognizant of setting boundaries, using this Mars energy to bring in that confidence to really look out for yourself and your inner child. I actually find it really interesting. 2 of my best friends just had their birthdays and they're both Libras. Literally, 2 out of my 3 closest friends are Libras, and I find that to be so fascinating. Comment below if you've noticed that you tend to be friends with people who are certain signs. Like, for example, I can't recall any past friends who were also Geminis. Like, I literally don't currently know any Geminis. So I don't know, I find that to be really interesting. I actually did a podcast interview with another Gemini, and we had the best conversation. It was so great. So anyway, comment down below if you've experienced that. Also, what is your relationship or dynamic with people who have the same sign as you? Next, how do we harness this energy? As mentioned before, with this new moon bringing themes of rest and reflection before we begin this new cycle, I feel really called to remind y'all that rest is productive. If you need to, write that affirmation out, say it to yourself. Rest really is productive. We need rest to have energy for when we are in action, right? And I feel like in our society, in our modern Western society that's so focused on, you know, hustle culture, maybe building a business, maybe going up in the ranks, obviously that's very important to make a living, of course. I think that there isn't a lot of value placed in just existing, you know what I mean? And I feel like if you're watching this, you are likely a spiritual person who understands the importance of stillness, the reverence, the sacredness of being able to be one with nature, to be one with the moment. But I just wanted to remind y'all of that, the importance and the power that there is in allowing yourself to take time to rest. I remember this story from this TikToker. I don't know if y'all have seen this video, but it's this TikToker who told the story of her business and how it came to be and how she intentionally decided to end it. And it was a story of her loving baking. She loved how it brought her to the present moment. She loved her relationship with food. And so she started a TikTok channel and it blew up. And the logical, you know, sort of next step that we see in our Western capitalistic, you know, hustle culture society was, I need to create a business out of my passion. So she created a business, but she quickly realized that she didn't enjoy it anymore. It wasn't just baking anymore. It was spreadsheets. It was marketing. It was understanding, you know, online interfaces as a business owner. It was managing money. And it became something way more than her initial joy. And she consciously decided to end that business because she wanted to just go back to enjoying baking, enjoying her passion, rather than turning it into something that she realized it didn't need to be, and having a separate job so she could come home and just enjoy it. So she was working to live rather than living to work, if that makes sense. And I don't know, I just felt called to share that story with y'all because I feel like that's such a timeless sort of almost like parable of somebody who starts with a passion and then they kind of enter a society or world that tells you that you need to morph it into something that it might not necessarily be. I don't know. I find that to be very interesting. I also still see the perspective of doing what you love. That way you don't work a day in your life and things like that. Comment below if that resonates with you. Next, I think that leaning into family and chosen family dynamics can be very beneficial during this time. Like mentioned before, with retrograde coming into play, and bringing up a lot of potential past wounds, past experiences, miscommunications, and triggers, can potentially be catalysts for fortifying and strengthening the relationships that you have. For many of us, we've learned so much having to do with psychology, with relationship, family dynamics, and we're able to go back to our families with newfound knowledge and being able to articulate it in better ways with them, which can actually start a whole new sort of dichotomy and pattern in the family line in a great way. For some, this might be very triggering and it might not be a great thing. So if you feel called to do it, now can be a great time to lean into and reflect on those dynamics. And finally, let's dive into these journal writing prompts. What I'll do is I'll put up the writing prompts on the screen. When you see them, I invite you to pause the video, write them out, unpause, and we'll come back. And you can do all of this in your Auralign Planner's dedicated new moon ritual page. But if you don't have it, you don't need it. All you'll need will be a piece of paper. Moving into this new lunar cycle, what are your intentions or goals? They can be new or pre-existing. Describe a mutually beneficial relationship that serves your highest good. This can be an existing or an ideal relationship. What aspects of collaborating with or seeking insight from others do you enjoy? What aspects would you like to improve upon? If you identify with the phrase people-pleasing, where do you think that tendency stems from? What does it look like to hold space for others' needs while protecting your own? All right, y'all, if you made it to the end of this video, I invite you to comment 3 purple heart emojis to let me know that you made it to the end. As well, when you engage with my work, you are not only helping small but growing creators like myself continue to grow, but you're also telling the YouTube algorithms, the powers that be, that you enjoy content like this. And it is deeply, appreciated. And finally, like mentioned before, if you are interested in aligning your schedule with the stars, moon, and seasons, I highly encourage you to check out the link above and below in the description to sign up for the email list to be the first to know when the Auralign planners launch. And finally, if you enjoy podcasts and getting to know me and who I am outside of this YouTube space, this video box, what I've done, how I've been a TEDx speaker, how I've started an annual wellness conference centering Black, Indigenous, people of colors, wellness practices, ancestral practices, and perspectives in the wellness space, and my whole journey being a holistic nutritionist and all the things, I was actually invited to be on the High Tide podcast by Jenny Jimeno, and we dive into all of those things along with better understanding the moon phases. And so I want to really thank Jenny for inviting me. She actually is a viewer of this channel, so it was really, really a special conversation to have. So be sure to check out the links in the description box below. And with all of that said, I will leave you with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey and not the destination. Okay. Bye, friends.